Alright, perfect. Alright, welcome back for another Final Fantasy XIV presentation. We have 12 kiosks for Final Fantasy XIV over here on my left. Feel free to give the game a try. We can try out our character creation. We can try out one of the storylines for our 3 C-state nations and do some of our battle system and enjoy that game and give it a try and let you know what you think. We're also doing some giveaways at the end of the day for snakebite controllers. They're branded with the Final Fantasy XIV logo. You can see them being used on these kiosks over here. And they work exclusively for the PC. We also have $10 off coupons for snakebite controllers at our reception desk. So if you guys want to buy the controller online, feel free to do that as well. We're also doing an iBuy Power PC. It's the same PC that's running those machines over there. Very impressive, very crisp 1080p resolution on it. And all you have to do is simply submit your email address on the PC laptop over on our reception desk, and you'll be entered into a drawing that will take place after your Comic-Con ends. But without further ado, let me show you a little bit about Final Fantasy XIV. It starts off with our CG intro to the game. Tell you a little bit about the thematic elements related to the storyline and the world of Arozea. Enjoy. About some of the unique elements of this game that make it especially good in the MMO genre. Now here's played another MMO and found that they enjoyed playing one to split one class, but they felt like they could use a change of pace and wanted to try a different one. In order to do so, they have to re-roll their characters, start over, try to get all their experience, fame, reputation, all that back. That happen to anybody? Frustrate anyone? What about that? No, we completely understand here at Square Enix, we developed what's called the Armory system. This allows players to change from one discipline to another simply by changing out the weapon in your main hand. So for instance, our new player character here was a Lancer at first, trying out his hand at the lancing equipment. Switched to a thaumaturge by simply changing from a lance to a staff, and now he's even trying out crafting classes by switching from a staff to a hammer. And some blacksmithing. This even includes our gathering classes, and all he has to do in order to improve his ore output to do some blacksmithing, switch from that blacksmith hammer to a miner's pickaxe and start mining out in the woods. So what this enables players to do is basically level each of these classes or disciplines independent from each other, gaining abilities from them. And in addition, this allows us to then take those abilities and mix and match them onto the discipline we're playing with. So for instance, if you were trying out your hand as a thaumaturge to learn some spells, you could then use maybe some of those abilities as a lancer, and so on and so forth. Another aspect of this game that's pretty unique is the way we tell stories in Final Fantasy XIV. Now, who's noticed when they play an MMO and they find themselves talking to an NPC about a quest? The NPC is like, it's in a box with text just rolling down. You're not really getting very immersed in it. He's not even moving when he's talking. Yeah, that gets a little frustrating. Because of that, we implemented cutscenes in Final Fantasy XIV to basically tell the story of the game without boring the player or making them feel like they're breaking apart from the world and just examining UI. So we've incorporated what are most often fully voiced cutscenes in the game to integrate your players seamlessly into the game, or into the cutscene, with the armor they have equipped and the discipline they have equipped that dynamically changes depending on what you're wearing and what you're equipped to for every cutscene. Your personalized character is represented fully rendered in our in-game engine in cutscenes as high quality as this one is here. But again, changes dynamically depending on which cutscene you're viewing. So really feel that with this method, the players feel more immersed in the story, feel like it's a greater part of the game, not simply tacked on as a motivation to get things done. And of course, it wouldn't be a Final Fantasy if you didn't have some classic characters like Moogles. The Moogles here are leading that ent in a different direction so our players can escape. Thank you very much, guys. Another unique aspect of this cutscene is the introduction of the Bajal race, keepers of the woods, allied leaders of this cadre of lancers from Gridania. You can learn more about that storyline playing the game over there. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about our battle system. Here's the action bar. This represents all the abilities you have at your disposal. You learn through various disciplines and then mapped to the action bar that are also mapped to the number keys on your keyboard. Here's the stamina gauge. This tells you how much stamina you have and how much is required for each ability that you're utilizing. You can execute commands in rapid succession as long as you have the stamina required. This adds a greater level of complexity to the combat and allows you to strategize which abilities to do and when. You can see some status effects on your party members on the top of the screen for yourself. The status effects tell you what status effects are in your allies, yourself, and also monsters will appear under the MP gauge for the monster, so you can better strategize what to do in battle. Battles change dynamically. You can notice the paste had lit up eyes, which allowed them to do more powerful attacks. You can do things like cut off the limbs of enemies that will visibly show. It'll also debilitate their ability to attack you, as well as remove some of their abilities that they normally execute. Alright, now I'd like to talk about Final Fantasy XIV's story, some of the talent involved in making the game by showing you this launch trailer. The song you're hearing is Answers, sung by Susan Calloway. It's the main theme for Final Fantasy XIV. And every Final Fantasy main series title since Final Fantasy VIII has had a theme associated with it, which allows the creators to basically tell the story of Final Fantasy XIV in song. Basically lays out the thematic elements, what the story's all about, what the arrows is all about, and what direction they feel the story's going to go. And the suit. Right over the jacket. Alright. What's on it? Yeah, thank you. This cutscene also is a good quality cutscene. Kind of demonstrates, again, the level of quality we want to put into the story so people feel like they're very immersed in this tale. Doing so, we feel, helps players understand the story better, I feel like even though it's an MMO, you don't have to sacrifice any of the things that make the Final Fantasy series great. We had an interview with Tanaka recently where he had mentioned that, you know, this game, while being an MMO, is a Final Fantasy first, and then an MMO second. We want to make sure people understand that the game will never lose any of the quality elements that make a Final Fantasy game great. Thinking of the music,
I actually have the game.
the entire soundtrack was composed by famed composer Nobuo Uematsu. This is actually the first soundtrack that he's done in complete, like done the whole complete soundtrack since Final Fantasy IX, over 10 years ago. The art direction is done by Akihiko Yoshida, known for Final Fantasy XII and Final Fantasy Tactics series. Careful, guys, careful. Just a shirt. You're wearing one right now. The producer is Hiromichi Tanaka, producer of Final Fantasy XI, Final Fantasy III, and a manager with the company since its very beginning. Thank you very much for coming. Let me remind you that we have 12 Final Fantasy XIV kiosks. You guys can try the game out. The game is available now on PC and will soon become available on March 2011 for PS3. The game is cross-platform. That means PS3 and PC players play together on the same servers at the same time. The game is also cross-region, so North American, Japanese, and European players also play together on the same region using an auto-translate function in the game to communicate in 4 different languages. Let me finally remind you that we do have, again, those Snakebite controller coupons for $10 off a Snakebite controller. We will be giving out Snakebite controllers for free at the last presentation of the day, and pretty much enjoy the rest of Comic-Con.